Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you're watching from. I am still trying to grow out the beard a little bit, toughen up the facial hair. Let me know in the comments below if you think it's coming along nicely, if we should continue growing it, or if I should shave it. Right now, we're going to continue growing it, but I'm always curious to see what other guys think as well. We have a very important topic to talk about today, and that is a very troubling report about the military campaign against the Houthis in Yemen and the United States military narrowly avoiding absolute disaster, what it means, what happened, what the past has taught us about this, and what we can take away from it. Before we get into all of that and much more, please make sure to like and subscribe, comment with your thoughts below. The comments drive us higher in the algorithm so we can share the news and our message with more people. Always hit that bell so you know when a new video is coming. Now, let's get into it. President Donald Trump recently declared that the military campaign against the Houthis was over after weeks and weeks of rolling airstrikes against weapon stockpiles, early warning systems, leadership. At least a dozen Houthi leaders, I believe, were killed in the strikes. And the reason the strikes were ongoing is because the Houthis have been firing on ships, trying to close down global shipping since the October 7th attack that was carried out in Israel by Hamas. So it was in several weeks of crushing airstrikes, just brutal, overwhelming military power. And then President Trump announced that the campaign was over. For people who haven't seen President Trump's comments, let's go ahead and play those right now.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that.
On the surface, as you saw there, the campaign was very successful. The Houthis said, stop this. We don't want to fight you anymore. We are going to give up. We're bending the knee. We don't want to do this anymore. That's good news. And I think by any metric, it was a successful operation. Whenever the enemy says, we're done fighting you, please stop. And that's a sign of a victory. However, it's not all sunshine and roses. The New York Times, and I know some of you watching this right now are probably thinking the New York Times, very untrustworthy, and certainly they have had a lot of issues. But I will say their foreign policy and their military reporting historically has been what they do best. Their political reporting is where they drop the ball. They released a lengthy profile of the operation against the Houthis that had a lot of interesting tidbits in it. But there was one thing that was very shocking to me in the report. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen for you right here, right now. This claims that the Houthis almost successfully brought down an F-35 stealth fighter as well as multiple F-16 fighter jets. I'm reading, in those first 30 days, the Houthis shot down 7 American MQ-9 drones, around 30 million each, hampering Central Command's ability to track and strike the militant group. Several American F-16s and an F-35 fighter jet were nearly struck by Houthi Air Defenses, making real the possibility of American casualties, multiple U.S. officials said. That possibility became reality when 2 pilots and a flight deck crew member were injured in the 2 episodes involving the FA-18 Super Hornets, which fell into the Red Sea from the aircraft carrier, the Harry S. Truman, within 10 days of each other. So that is the report coming from the New York Times that the Houthis almost successfully shot down an F-35 stealth fighter jet, which is either the stealthiest or the second stealthiest fighter jet, depending on if you're going with the F-22 or the F-35. Let me know in the comments if you prefer the F-22 or the F-35, but they're 1 and 2. There's no question about it, both with their advantages and disadvantages depending on what you want. How are the Houthis able to possibly bring down the world's most advanced fighter jet? What tools did they have at their disposal? How was this even possible? Let's get into that right now. When it comes to the tools that the Houthis in Yemen have at their disposal, I'll go ahead and throw this up on the screen for you here. This comes from the War Zone, a great military reporting website. It says, among the most modern and capable surface-to-air missiles the Houthis are currently understood to have in service are the Bark 1 and Bark 2, which were publicly unveiled in September 2023. The Yemeni militants claim the Bark 1 and Bark 2 have maximum ranges of around 31 miles and close to 43.5 miles and can engage targets at altitudes of up to more than 49,000 feet and 65,000 feet respectively. There does not appear to be any independent confirmation of these figures. So that's what the belief is. That's the belief. They think these things can go out in the ranges they can hit, but they're not highly advanced air defense systems. They're very primitive. They're poor. They're much, much weaker than what you would see the Russians have, the Chinese have, even what the Iranians would have. These are, for lack of a better term, garbage air defense systems. So how was it possible that they were able to lock on and fire on the world's most advanced stealth fighter jet? Now, I'm not an expert in avoiding radar detection, but what little I do know about it is it's not that the stealth fighter can't ever be detected. The problem is when it comes to shooting down stealth fighters, you have to stay locked on the entire time. And stealth planes fade in and out. You might grasp them for a second. You might grasp them for half a second. You might be able to catch them for just a fraction of something, but then they come in and out, making it impossible to lock onto, making it extremely difficult, even with the world's most advanced air defense systems, to fire at. If you know a little bit more, feel free to let me know in the comments if I'm missing anything there, and I would love to include in a future video. So were they able to successfully lock on long enough to fire these air defense missiles, these SAMs, at the F-35, or did they just throw up so much stuff in the sky that they almost clipped an F-35? I feel like the second option is probably more realistic, because if it's the first option, we have a major, major problem on our hands. If Houthi Air Defenses successfully can detect the F-35, then what does that say about Chinese or Russia or even Iran? It's a fascinating, fascinating question. What would have happened if the F-35 had been shot down over Yemen? What would have happened if it had gone down in enemy territory? We actually don't really even have to wonder, because this has happened before when a plane went down in the South China Sea. So let's get into that right now. So this comes to us from the Daily Caller, which is Tucker Carlson, the publication. I used to work at the Daily Caller for years, loved my time there. It was a great place to work. And they actually did some great reporting. They had some great inside sources in the Navy about what happened when that F-35 went off an aircraft carrier deck and sunk in the South China Sea. China was racing to get it. So let's read this here up on the screen. Chinese salvage ships left port Wednesday and are heading towards the location of the sunken F-35C Lightning II jet, according to two sources with knowledge of the situation. The U.S. fighter jet crashed into the South China Sea in January during routine flight operations, the Navy said in a public statement January 24th. Since then, the U.S. Navy has been scrambling to remove the jets from the bottom of the sea before China does. So we know exactly what would have happened. China and the U.S., there would have been a mad race, not China in this case, but the U.S. and other people in the region would have been scrambling to get the jet to make sure that it couldn't then be transported back to Iran, China, Russia, wherever, and reverse engineer it, which would close a huge technology gap. And I have it on very good authority, that if China had recovered the F-35 jet first and put it on a salvage ship, we would have sunk the salvage ship, no questions asked. That's how important it is to the U.S. when it comes to maintaining our stealth edge. So what would have happened if the Houthis had found it? We would have found where the wreckage was and either dropped a massive bomb on it to make sure it couldn't be recovered and shipped elsewhere, or we would have sent in a commando team, recovery team to get it, and they would have waxed anyone who got close. But what can we take away from this? Where do we go next? Let's discuss that right now. More than anything, this really goes to show how unpredictable war can be. You never know what's going to happen. Even the best technology doesn't guarantee you that you're going to have the winning advantage at all times, and the cost of war can be very, very high. It's a risky business when missiles start getting lobbed at each other in all directions. That's just the fact of the matter, and that's what we witnessed here with this reported almost shoot down of an F-35. I have no doubt that the United States military, the Navy, the Air Force, our intelligence agencies are trying to figure out how the Houthis were able to almost bring down an F-35 so that they can apply those lessons then to a future conflict against a country with much more advanced air systems. Maybe it was pure dumb luck. Maybe they actually locked on with their air defense systems. We don't know. We'll probably never find the answer. But it's very concerning if a, third world, third rate, rebel group, whatever you want to call them, with really poor air defenses almost brought down an F-35. That's a troubling sign. Here's the other thing to remember. This is not the first reported incident of this when it comes to the F-35 and radar. Israeli F-35s were allegedly locked onto, according to reports, when they were over Iraqi airspace when they attacked Iran back in October, and they had to dump their missiles early and get out and fly back. So there are some troubling questions that are starting to pop up. And for those of us who are really concerned about a potential conflict with China, which I obviously am, we need to get these problems figured out immediately to make sure that when we actually have to attack a country that has the most modern air defenses outside of our own, we're able to do that without losing planes. But I want to hear what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments about the U.S. military during Trump's campaign against the Houthis, allegedly, reportedly, nearly losing an F-35. What do you think happened? How do you think the Houthis were able to get on that stealth plane, even though you wouldn't think they would with their technology? Make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch y'all next time.